Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz Chess postmortem video. This is a postmortem of my Blitz Chess game number 100. So in recognition of this milestone, I was going to say a few words about the channel here. When I got started, I had no idea if there would be anyone watching this channel other than my immediate family and maybe a few friends, chess players. But there have actually been quite a few viewers, and I appreciate all of that. I appreciate the views, the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, everything along those lines. It helps me feel like doing these videos is a worthwhile endeavor, and I enjoy doing them, so I plan to keep on with them. I'll keep doing the Blitz videos with the postmortems, the chess basics, and the occasional over-the-board game. I'm open to other ideas. If there are any suggestions you have for me, if there's anything you would like to see me do on this channel that I'm not doing currently, please feel free to say something about it. And just leave a comment on this video or on any of the videos. I try to read all the comments. And okay, that's it. I just wanted to say that, this being my 100th Blitz game that I've uploaded and analyzed for your entertainment. So this game, number 100, was a Pirc defense. I was white here and I kicked off with e4. And the Pirc defense, sometimes called the Pirc defense because it's spelled P-I-R-C, but I believe it's pronounced Pirc, is this move knight f6 in combination with d6. So it's a counterattacking defense, counterattacking the center without necessarily occupying it. Although my opponent does play an early e5. The other thing you can do here is actually transpose into a Philidor with the move e5. It's playable, but maybe not the best. But this is an interesting line too, and it looks like knight c3 is the main line of the Pirc. I generally play this move bishop d3, but because I don't like to block in the c-pawn. However, I think next time I'll try this knight c3 and see how it goes. I didn't feel like I got much of an advantage out of this opening, although the computer rates white is better throughout most of this. Bishop e7, not the most common fourth move here for black after this setup c3 and bishop d3. It looks like d5 is a common move, which is kind of a funny idea because he's wasted a tempo moving it to d6 and then to d5. But I guess that's a playable line. Anyway, bishop e7 and knight f3, and then we are, after bishop g4, out of the opening book. I'm going to leave the chess engine off, and there's a couple tactical quizzes here, and so I don't want the engine spoiling that. So I castle, and throughout this, white has some edge. I think here, after this move c5, I played d takes c5, and that was criticized as a mistake by the chess engine. It really preferred, and it was part of my plan actually, was to move the queen so as to unpin this knight. That's why I moved the knight here to d2 so it could defend that knight, and after I move the queen away, if bishop takes, I have knight takes. I don't have to take back with a pawn. So I was planning to move the queen anyway, and the chess engine thinks I should just keep the tension in the center and go ahead with my plan. But instead, after he played c5, I was tempted to exchange pawns here, and he took back with the knight, hitting my bishop and picking up a tempo. And now it thinks black is pretty much dequalized. So I guess that's really where I let black into the game. But after this move, bishop g6, actually, bishop g6 is a mistake, and I have a good move here, so which I did not play. So here's your first tactical quiz. What would you play as white here? It's not too deep. Take a minute and pause the video if you want to think about it. I'm going to give away the answer now. If you haven't figured it out, pause. The answer is bishop takes knight. He has to take back with a pawn, and then this pawn here is undefended, so he can just take it. And this is pretty good for white. He's basically just a pawn up. So that would have been the way to play it. And instead of winning a pawn, I decided to lose a pawn by playing the move queen e2. Now I realized that this pawn was under-defended. It's got there's three attackers and only two defenders, bishop and the knight defending it. He's got two knights and a bishop attacking it. So I thought he could take that, but I thought I could get some counterplay by putting my rook on the d file, maybe pinning this pawn and threatening to take the e pawn. The computer says no dice. So I continue. He doesn't take the pawn the first time round, but I continue to offer it, and then the second chance, he grabs the pawn. So this is good for black. He's basically just a pawn up, and my counterplay on these pawns is just not sufficient. There's no pin to start with, and there's no real tempo on this bishop. Now the chess engine here thinks that instead of taking my knight like he did, he should just retreat this bishop and just enjoy the advantage of the bishop pair as well as the extra pawn, and it thinks black would have a solid advantage there. So bishop g5, not the most precise, but still advantage to black here. And as I attack this pawn, I still had hopes that my bishop's control of the d8 square would make it difficult for him to defend the d-pawn, but he just has a simple move, f6, kicking my bishop and blocking off that diagonal, and now he has time to defend the pawn, which he could do by bringing a rook over or by advancing it. So, and he could have done that the previous move, just advance the pawn. So anyway, no dice on getting my pawn back. And now I make things a little worse by playing c4 because he can just bypass it. I think probably my best chance in this position is to play a waiting game, put the move f3 in. So pawns on c3 and f3, trying to hold back his onrushing pawns in the center and then maybe trying to play around them somehow. At some point, if he advances these pawns, maybe my bishop can become active and I can get some counterplay. But anyway, that's probably my best shot. Black is still winning, of course. So d4 just makes his job a little bit easier. And I'm maneuvering around trying to find clever tricks with pins and stuff like that. But not much is happening really. And black maintains a pretty solid advantage through all of this. Until we get to, well actually, he has a solid advantage even in cases where he doesn't play the best move. But there was one move here I thought was kind of instructive. Yeah, it's right here. It was at this point, having lined up all his pieces on the c file, he decided to play rook to c1. It pretty much forces exchanges because it's attacking my queen. And so after I take with the rook, the queen comes down with check, and I have to take with the queen or lose it. And then he gets the rook here on the 8th rank. But he's also gotten rid of a lot of the force. So that's not the best way to proceed in this position. And so if you want to think about it, what's a good move for black here? Go ahead and pause the video. There's more than one good move, so it's not a great tactical quiz, but it's a good position to think about. Just generally, you've got the advantage, you've got the extra pawn. How do you proceed with your attack? Okay, I'm going to give away the answer. Pause the video if you want to think about it some more. One idea, and maybe not the best, but one idea the computer had, so you can give yourself credit if you thought of this, was bishop c4, attacking my rook. And I'm just not sure where the bishop is going. Maybe it can just sit there for a while. I left this rook a little bit loose, so I wasn't entirely sure, but the computer says it's safe to play that, and a good move. But it thinks there's another move which is slightly better, and that is the move bishop to b3. And this one I can understand. First of all, the rook defends the bishop, and the bishop attacks this pawn here. So the best that white can do is probably to play a move like b5. And then if black grabs the pawn right there, try and get some mileage. Now notice the queen is attacking the rook, but try and get some mileage out of this pinned bishop here. And turns out that black can escape this, so the computer is not afraid of this. Maybe a move like queen here would do it. I didn't look at the exact move for black in this position. So it's a little bit awkward, but he does have two extra pawns here. If he just can extricate the, unpin the queen and extricate the bishop, then he'll be okay. So that's probably the best way to play it. Keep the pieces on and just go after my weaknesses, my pawns over here, and try to eliminate them. But he played rook c1, and so we got a much simplified position here where it's just a rook and a bishop, and the bishops are of opposite colors. So if I can get the bishop, or the rooks off rather, I have a chance to get a drawish kind of endgame. And I do still have a passed pawn here potentially, so I have some chances. He plays rook a1, and I push ahead. He takes and I takes. It's maybe a little more accurate to take with the rook. Let's show how that would go. I would probably, if I take the pawn, he just takes, and now that's eliminated all of my chances. So I would push ahead with the b pawn, and he would probably blockade it like this. And, you know, so I would try and make some progress. But it's tricky in this position. I need to get my bishop around to defend that pawn so I can bring my rook over and chase the bishop away. It's going to be a tough game. So that would have been the best way for black to play it. But this, what he played, should be okay for black as well. Although maybe not winning. It's tough to say if he's winning anymore. Because all I need to do is get the rooks off and get my king in position, and I can blockade this and have a draw. So by allowing me to keep that pawn, it made my job a little bit easier. And right here, the computer came up with a neat trick. Yeah, move 43. I played bishop e1. I'm just trying to activate my bishop. I'd really like to get my bishop to this square, but there's a pawn in the way. So the computer came up with an interesting suggestion here. So I'll give you a moment to consider this position. This is worth pausing the video and then seeing what other ideas you might have as white, how you might play this. Okay, I'm going to give away the computer recommendation here. It was f4. f4, sorry. It's white's move. And the idea is just to try and break through. You know, if he takes, you can take back, and you've got this beautiful diagonal. So the best move for black is to push ahead. And now I thought the idea was pushing the pawn immediately, but the computer thinks it's best, the f-pawn, just to grab this diagonal. The computer thinks it's best to play this move, b7. So now rook here, and it looks like white is going to, and black is going to round up this pawn, and he'll have two passed pawns. So it looks like black is just winning here, but white has this move, rook b5, attacking the bishop. Okay, so if the rook takes a pawn, then we have rook takes bishop, and you'll just be a piece up for two pawns, and you'll be able to round up these pawns, perhaps by sacrificing the bishop, and get about an even game. But the computer thinks the best play for black is bishop takes, and it amounts to the same kind of thing. Then you push the f-pawn. This rook is in the way, in the path of the bishop, and it can't go anywhere and defend the light-squared bishop. So it goes here to get behind the pawns. Rook takes. And now it's the same kind of situation. You've got an extra piece as white, and black has two extra pawns which are together. They're connected and they're passed. So you're going to have to sacrifice the bishop to win those pawns, and it'll probably end up being a draw. But this is a slight edge for white according to the chess engine. So pretty interesting idea there, I thought. I played bishop e1, trying to come around the other way. And now I want to play bishop to b4 to, I really want to play this move, bishop to b4 to d6 there. But I can't because it would give up the pawn. So I have to play bishop a5, and he blockades the pawn. And now I come around here to the c file, and he plays e4 here. And once again, there's an interesting move that the computer came up with here. So another chance for you to pause the video and think about what the best reply for white is here. There's actually a couple moves, so I'll show both of them. Okay, first idea is rook c5, just hitting this bishop. And the bishop has nowhere to go that defends the e-pawn. So when he pushed that e-pawn, maybe it was a bit of a mistake. And if he drops his, well, if he moves his bishop here, which was a computer recommendation, then you can just pick up this pawn. And now you've actually got an even game. You've got a passed pawn, he's got a passed pawn. opposite colored bishops and the same number of pawns overall. So that's a way to neutralize black's advantage. And another similar kind of idea is to play the move rook c8 check. King here, and then rook to d8, hitting the bishop. And now the bishop can move here, for example, holding on to the e-pawn, but then you can grab the d-pawn. So it's the same kind of idea. You eliminate his strong passed pawns, and you get to keep your pawn here by this threat on the bishop. So that would have been a way to play. I saw a chance in this position to force the rooks off, and I was figuring that this would probably be drawish with the opposite colored bishops in the absence of the rooks. When the rooks are on, there's still attacking chances, and the opposite colored bishops favor the side that's attacking, because it's like you have an extra piece. For example, black has an extra piece on the white squares, and I have an extra piece on the dark squares. But if you get rid of the rooks, then it just becomes much more drawish, because there's no more coordinating of pieces to attack. So I play the move f takes here first, bishop takes, and then rook there, check. He goes there, and then rook here, check. And this forces an exchange of rooks, and I can take the rook here. And at this point, the computer rates this as a slight edge for black, but basically not enough to win. It's only a fraction of a point. And of course, you need to have more than a fraction of a point to win. You actually have to have a pawn that you can queen. And there's just no way, I can shuffle my bishop back and forth. If his king goes over here after this pawn, I can round up this pawn and then use my bishop and king together to stop these two pawns. And so that's how it would have ended. What happened actually is my opponent disconnected. He may have just lost a connection, because I don't think there was any reason for him to disconnect unless he was feeling a little frustrated, recognizing this was a draw. But still, a draw is better than a loss, and if he had offered a draw, I would certainly have accepted it here. But he was disconnected, perhaps by accident, and lost the game as a result. So that was it. Hope you enjoyed that, and leave any comments you have in the section below. And like I said earlier, if you have anything you want to say about the progress of the channel or things you'd like me to do, feel free to add any comments along those lines too. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye.